Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Modern Market, where every day we discuss everything to do with the modern market. That is the crypto market, the NFT market, and the strategic reserve conversation market. We're just tracking every single word that every single person says about a strategic reserve, because that is what we trade on these days. That is it. That is the only thing. Loaded up for discussion today, we have crypto bouncing back as tariffs go live, but 3 or 4 rate cuts are starting to get priced in. So we'll talk about that in a bit. We've got the Reddit co-founder, Alex Ohanian, planning to buy TikTok and saying that he wants to bring it on chain. Super interesting there. And also on the Avax side, the Blub presale went live. It ripped $75 million in less than 24 hours. So the Avax presale momentum is not stopping here. There's still a few more to come. We'll just get the headline details that you need to know there in just a little bit. We've also got the latest on price action on crypto and NFTs as usual, plus a general discussion on the market too. So stay tuned for that. I have Legendary with me as usual, got Bread with me as usual. And as like every Wednesday, got the head of business development at Pirate Nation and Proof of Play, the on-chain gaming and tech company backed by A16Z. You've got Dith in the house with us again. Great to have you, my man. How are you doing? How is your Wednesday?
Good. Yeah, thanks, man. Glad to be on as always. Yeah, just enjoying the the roller coaster like everyone else, right? Like the time between it's so over and we're so back is like 12-hour basis nowadays. So just comfy in spot and watching the fireworks like everyone else. Just curious to see how the next month shakes out.
Absolutely. We've been talking about it quite a lot. It's clear. It feels like people's behavior. I've mentioned this a few times, but people's behavior from being like having their finger on the trigger all the time with memes has switched over now to just needing to trade something. Memes have kind of taken a bit of a backseat. So the thing that they just want to do is press the button on anything strategic reserve related, whether that's just before it, whether it's just after it. It feels like people haven't got used to the fact that, okay, maybe we can just chill for a moment until any of these things actually play out.
Yeah, and I mean, I think we, back when Trump was inaugurated, we had a discussion back then, like volatility is like the defining feature of this guy in office. It was kind of always going to be, it was certainly the case last time, and that wasn't solely due to COVID, and we're seeing it again right now. And yeah, personally, I'm in the bucket though that I don't like to trade majors. I just like to sit on them. So while all this kind of craziness is shaking out, I'm somewhat happily sidelined. Just wait and see. But I certainly have ballsy friends who are trying to trade the volatility, and man, that's a game right there. And if you're good at it, then
Interesting distinction though, Dith, because I think this is something I actually wrote about this earlier. There's a distinction between trading. So you're saying you're not trading majors. Doesn't mean you're not holding majors though, right? It's like
directionally still like permable, more bullish than ever. Yeah. Short-term pain, especially if the major that you're in is predominantly ETH, like I am. So I saw you tweeted about this as well. Like
I got rid of it, man. I got rid of so much. Yeah. There was a day. This is what happened when I was in Dubai and we met. Like not long after that, I was speaking to Legendary quite a lot, and there was a day still when it was at around 3K. I told him, right, I'm going to get rid of a ton. Thing is, it took so much time because all of my ETH was, it was so useful. So it was like in Blast somewhere. It was in, it was on like Polygon. It was
shout out Rabby, right? Rabby tells you like all these thousands of positions that you have intertwined in the ecosystem.
Yeah. Well, exactly. So then I was like, oh, okay, cool. I've got some there, but I need to go get it and bring it all into one place. So it took me like a whole evening to sell that portion. But then I was like, okay, I'll keep a bit. And I just had to go to bed. I spent so long selling ETH that I had to go to sleep. And then I still had just additional positions. And actually yesterday I got out of a lot of them. And now I'm waiting. It's not like I'm trying to make an immediate move. It's more just like, where am I going to go next?
Well done. ETH is like, man, this has been like painful hold, right? The last 3 years. What a cruel mistress Ethereum has been. Every time I consider cutting, I face the same question. Number one, firstly, like rotate into what? Like, I guess ultimately, if you want to just like be in a position and forget and chill, it's Bitcoin. But then you're not really, or like, it doesn't feel to me like I'm playing the game. It's like, that's the, if I had to go touch grass for like a year or two, like was 100% offline, then yes, I'd be in Bitcoin. But while I'm here at the desk, fooling myself like many others that we can outperform Bitcoin, there's this temptation of like, well, I should be in something else, right? And then there's this other sort of trading fallacy, which is like, well, it's got to have a new all-time high at some point, right? And of course, that's not programmed at all. So I guess we'll see. I'm actually curious what spreads take. Bread, like us, like proof of play is very Ethereum aligned. We're like building all this EVM-centric infrastructure, making a big bet as a company on Ethereum. And so are you guys. So what's your latest read?
I think there's a possibility that we've overpriced everything. Right, like in a modular ecosystem, like I think the focus is shifting back to L1. So like value will accrue there again because we're realizing that execution is valuable and users are valuable. So I think now with that renewed energy and focus, right, you're seeing Etherealize come to market and they're actually like being forceful now. Hey, Ethereum has a chance to be integrated into like an official capacity inside of like the National Reserve. Okay, so then you have people like the new Ethereum executive directors saying like now's the chance, right? Like the man hours I often refer to with Ethereum, the network effects, the things that you can't speed run, right? The people that are now embedded in like high end positions throughout the world because they've been in Ethereum for 5 years, 7 years, whatever it is, right? Now they have the ear of people that are dumber than us. I'll say dumber than us, right? They're going to be able to tell whatever story they can, the same way that like ADA and XRP and whatever are all in the National Reserve. Like we don't think those things deserve to be there, right? For whatever reason. I think that's like the accepted opinion, like broadly. But it doesn't matter because you have the ear of people that are not familiar with our ecosystem. They don't know the really technical nuances between the two. They're not arguing about modular versus monolithic versus whatever. They just say big market cap, probably good. This guy's telling me the truth. Put it in, right? So there's the argument that like all the shit we're debating about doesn't fucking matter because everyone is like 7 years behind us in their educational journey and they're gonna bid up the things that we bid up 7 years ago, right? There's that, right? And then there's the second side of it that is just like the people that are embedded throughout the world because these things are older, they're gonna pump their bags, right? So like the level of buy-in from that from those people will be there. And then the second thing is like a renewed focus on execution, which I think is a requirement for value accrual, even on our scale. Like as we're sitting here watching this, the micro adjustments and shit, right? I think Ethereum is realizing now with hardware specs and everything else that they need to pump the gas a little bit. They need to pump the block times a little bit. They need to make their stuff more performant. And with that, you will actually get value accrual because I think the structural value accrual when it comes to usage, that is a requirement of a smart contract platform. Bitcoin being the exception, right? It's got this unicorn status that doesn't require any of that shit, but basically everything else does. Everything else that's a smart contract platform needs that level of execution. And I think we're starting to realize that. And we're going to start seeing it'll take time to get back to it, right? Because it takes time to iterate on the shit. We have 2 upgrades this year. Maybe if we're lucky, they're trying to be aggressive with the second one. How much that actually drives value back to TBD. But I think the course is being corrected. It's just going to take longer than we think from like a structural user value accrual story.
If anything, that's the strongest sign I think that we have had of mass adoption yet. When you, Brett, speak about people being behind in their educational journey, we've seen the same thing essentially happening with stocks, where you have the traditional investors looking at price to earning ratios and being like, oh, this stock is undervalued. This tech stock Tesla is massively overvalued. And then you have people just coming in. I don't give a damn about the PE ratio. I just want to buy this because I think it's cool. And you have the similar rationale basically also with people buying XRP, not even looking at market cap, being like, this is $2, Solana is 150, this is cool, I should flip it for that reason. And this influx of buyers who don't look at the fundamentals and don't have this 7 years of history, sometimes even a bit of like complacency, hubris, kind of puts a pressure on existing protocols to like do exactly what you had described with ETH and move faster and actually try to rewrite the narrative on the one hand, but on the other hand also like push some of the technological adoptions a bit faster than they otherwise would have done. So I do think that ultimately this impetus to force change, because people are just flocking into XRP or flocking into Cardano, is also helpful for the quote unquote OG protocols of our industry, where most of the ecosystem has been built on.
Yeah, and the overpricing thing is mostly around like if Ethereum were to stay on its course, right? And if Ethereum was only going to do where security for all like this chain of chains thing, right? Where no one would exist here. We would just rely on these L2s to bid on us, like in our block space, to provide security. In that sense, I don't think there's enough memetics there to say that this thing like we've never tested like what security is, like what the value of security is. Like it's frankly possible that it's not worth $400 billion, right? It's possible, or 200 billion or whatever. Like security is only required like $100 million, right? $100 billion. And like above that, like all the execution, all the users, all the activity going to L2s, that's where value is going to accrue, because that's where the user relationship is. That's where the transaction fees are. That's where like the motion is, right? But again, with this renewed sense of like, okay, we need to bring some users back. Like it's possible that it brings the combination of memetics from fees and just like general value accrual back to it.
Interesting. Very, very interesting conversation to kick things off. I'm just going to keep it moving to keep it moving to get into the headlines and stuff. I think we need to get there, but maybe we'll circle back to the value stuff as we touch on what's going on in the market a little bit later in the show as well. Let's kick things off, starting with the price action as usual. Starting with the majors, we've got where are we? We've got Bitcoin up 8%, back to 90K. Not bad at all. What's everyone complaining about? Sounds great. ETH is up also 6%. Why did I sell it yesterday? I don't know. It's amazing. 2.2K. Still down 10% on the week though, when everything else is up. BNB is up 5% to 598. Solana is up 8% to 147. Can't leave XRP off anymore because it's a major. It's up 6% to $2.50. Getting into the meme coin side of things, let's take a look. Got Doge up 5% to 20 cents. Got Pepe's up 4%. Trump's up 8%. Bonk is up 7%. WIF is flat. Pengu is flat. AI16Z is up 4. Ket on Avax up 30%. These Avax runners are really, really running. Mog's up 4%. Dog on the runes is up 10% as well. So memes are, I'd say, broadly struggling, though they've bounced a little bit today as a general point. Getting into the headlines themselves, we have crypto bouncing back as tariffs go live, but 3 or 4 rate cuts are starting to get priced in. Reddit co-founder Alex Ohanian plans to buy TikTok and bring it on chain. Brett's going to break down what's going on there in a little bit. And finally, as mentioned, the other AVAX meme coins are running. We also had the Blub presale ripping to 75 million in less than 24 hours too. So that is that. Notable sales, Azuki Spirit sold for 80 ETH. Good to see that. Anything else going on the NFT side, Legendary?
I'll keep it pretty short for the NFTs. They're basically following price action of the majors, following price action of ETH. So Pudgies are up a bit, but still under the 10 ETH floor at 9.6 ETH. Bored Apes are basically flat, 13.5 ETH. Azuki is up 3%. Miladies, however, are flat as well. Not a lot happening on the NFT side of things. Another interesting collection that once again stood out are the Hyperliquid Hypios. They are still holding strong at 1.3 ETH, actually up 30% on the week. And yes, they went high. I think they went as high as 1.8 ETH, but they are very comfortably for now defending the price spot above 1 ETH.
I like it at 1.3 actually. I've been wanting to buy it since like 0.4. I just never got around to it. Maybe I'll buy on at 1.3. I don't know. Let's see. Getting into the Web3 Roundup to get you up to speed with everything else, we had Mexican billionaire Ricardo Salinas revealing 70% personal portfolio allocation to Bitcoin. Well, that was quite noteworthy. We had the Ethereum bridging platform across protocol raising $41 million round by Paradigm. Across is an excellent protocol. No sponsorship, no affiliation. That is my main way to bridge around now. I would highly recommend it. when people are going around on Ethereum L2s. Aave announced a proposal to buy back tokens to the tune of $1 million worth every week for 6 months. I think that's super important. It's kind of going in line with a bunch of profitable protocols who are deciding that the way to accrue value back to the token is to buy it back. So we'll see how that goes. The token was up at least 10% yesterday. Proof of liquidity staking protocol Infrared announced $14 million Series A led by Framework Ventures. That's going on Berachain. USDC announced as first and only dollar stablecoin approved in Japan. That stablecoin war is definitely going to continue to play out across the world. JD Vance meme coin Please runs 400% yesterday to $30 million peak. Some people were saying, the first time something organic is working, maybe those trenches can come back more than before. And also, David Portnoy launched a third meme coin, Greed 3, which hit a $1.7 million market cap, but I didn't research it anymore because I don't care what he's up to there. That is the roundup. Before we get into the main headlines, bigger discussions there, what is catching our attention from there or elsewhere? Maybe we'll go to Bread first. Is there anything catching your attention from there or elsewhere? What's on your mind?
Yeah, he came right after me. I was reading up on the Ohanian shit. This thing's pretty wild. No, nothing jumps out at me, honestly. I've frankly been heads down getting ready for testnet on Mega. So for us, like the market is masked by preparation. So it's hard for me to keep an eye on everything. Although I have been listening to and talking with the Ethos founder, right? OX5F, Serpent, whatever. It's kind of, I made a post on it yesterday. I'm surprised to see how much attention is being garnered by the actual review side of that, as opposed to the market side. Like whenever he and I talked, when he was going through product.
Just explain what it is briefly, Brett, in case people are not familiar, and then tell people why it's so interesting that people are caring about the actual product.
Yeah. So it's Ethos Network. Ethos Network is like an on-chain reputation product application, whatever. Diff would recall kind of the early vibes of this because it was the reason we all got into Friendtech. Not the reason, but like it was one of the things that kept us holding on to Friendtech for so long whenever it came, because we saw this potential future where you could have people's on-chain actions mirrored by their offline personas, or their off-chain personas, I should say. So like we could see that this guy on Twitter was a dick and lied and sold his shit after he said he wouldn't, kind of thing, right? And like that could persist because it'll be on chain forever. Serpentax, the OX5F, he had that same vision. Whenever Friendtech failed to capitalize on that, he went and built that with the same idea, right? Like he wanted to realize that, said Racer couldn't do it, I'm going to do it. So he's doing that now. Problem is, like, whenever I first saw the first iterations of it, I was like, man, like, I don't think this has enough like lizard brain, like money opportunity to it that people are going to gravitate towards it, right? Like the space is all built on financial gain. That's frankly why Friendtech, although the off-chain rep stuff was interesting, the financial gain of buying and selling keys and speculating on creators was, I would say, probably the broadest appeal. And like this doesn't have that, right? You can't buy keys. There's none of that shit. It's just like literally the stuff is on chain in the background. He does a lot of that stuff, which I think is good for composability and ecosystem building. But like the application itself is basically, you just come to it and you can actually write reviews around people that are on Twitter straight up. And then like the review itself is on chain, but there's no speculation there, right? There's no like, there's some stuff with like trust and whatever else, but like I could sit there and do that. I could write 1,000 reviews. I get a bunch of Ethos points, but like there's no revenue in that. There's some if I do some staking, but not a lot of capital velocity. So I was like, I was like, if there's no financial gain here, no one's going to give a shit, right? If you're not making money.
However,
like
they do seem to be.
But they seem to give a shit. They seem to give lots of shits.
It's mimetic. It's funny. If you write the reviews, you've seen this today. So Park used to be this artist in the last bull cycle who made the most money ever, but then kind of disappeared, was called a grifter, had so many different projects, never tied them all together. And I think it was actually Serp who wrote a review on Park first, and now everyone flocked in and is writing negative reviews about Park and trying to be funnier than the other person before them. We've seen even the same with someone like Crypto Leon, where people were saying Crypto Leon is a good kid, but he's selling his allocations way too fast. And then people are writing reviews like saying, oh, he's a good kid, but he has hands of diarrhea, dumping everything he touches immediately. yada, yada, yada. So I think this mimetic element of discovering someone who we've always forgotten from the last cycle, or someone who's trending because a couple people wrote a review, and then everyone wants to share their opinion on that. The funniest ones will be picked up on the timeline. So I think it's a bit propelled by the mimetic value, which ultimately is not really in line with what I think Ethos wants to do. You don't want to have this like gang mentality of jumping on the review bandwagon because someone said something. But that definitely seems to be more mindshare gaining and garnering than the betting side of things.
Yes. And the betting side, I didn't elaborate on. So like there's Ethos Network, which is this review side, and there's Ethos Markets, which is basically like a poly market for trust, right? So there's 10 of us on there, I think, total, like me, ICO Beast, Zenica's on there. Yeah, there you go. All, like ZDs, right? And this is basically the same structure, but it's a two-sided curve of, yes and no, trust and untrust, against someone like basically just not being a jerk, frankly, or
this
like
is betting on your future behavior.
Yeah, basically. So it's like you can bid up. So again, it's a two-sided body curve. So like if I think I'm going to be more trusted, I can buy myself at 55 thinking someone will buy me at 60, right? And I could sell my 55 at 60, make the 5 cents, just like poly market, right? So
that
the
would
more
not be very
someone
trustworthy though. So
right. It wouldn't be. But like then that same with the other direction, right? Like I could buy like Shaw. If Shaw was on there, he's pretty erratic with what he posts and how volatile people think he is. If I bought a whole bunch of untrust, right, at 50, thinking like people are going to hate this dude at some point in time, he's going to say something controversial and they'll dump all of his trust, then I'll make 25 cents on 50 cents there. So like it goes both directions. And I thought like that there's a little bit of a flywheel there for people to like make financial gain and do shit, but no one's paying attention to it. They don't even know. They don't even care. It's just like, it's not a product they care about. They want to review for free. So I think that was surprising to me.
The selection of people doesn't work for that, because people like yourself, you're
too stable.
trustworthy, you will be a good operator, you're stable. You need the more unstable, controversial,
need volatile personalities.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Have a bit of light, have a bit of darkness to them, and hence make the betting more funny, because your trust will just go up and to the right and you won't rug us in a month. Boring.
I've been working with OX5F, Serpent, whatever, to try to get people on there. That he asks permission before people get their market enabled, right? So like, as you would expect, the people that aren't necessarily trustworthy or are volatile don't like that being priced. Therefore, they don't opt into it. So it's a little bit of a self-selection bias.
And they'll know that in advance at the moment, Brad, because Ethos allows you to review people whether they have signed up or not. So those people can already check what people have said about them. They've already got this temperature check that, people are going to say negative things. If there was a market on me.
It's interesting that he's drawing the line though, right? Like he's letting people be reviewed, but not bet on. So from the platform is called Ethos. And I know he's like, the reason this platform exists is, as you said, Brett, coming out of Friend Tech, a bunch of us were like, surely there's a better way. And there's like this more aspirational version of this. So I know he's conscious of that, but it is interesting that he drew the line there.
Yeah, and I don't know how much that's like GDPR, like where like actual regulations are, like what he can do. I know he's got a lawyer for half this shit, but
GDPR. It's the first rule of crypto is don't be in the EU.
Yeah. We'll see.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I know he's facing some headaches with it, but I imagine his guiding light was from a lawyer and not from his personal opinion.
Yeah, interesting stuff. Yeah, I think that is definitely catching some popularity. Glad you brought that up. Dith, what about you? What's catching your attention? Anything from the Web3 Roundup or elsewhere? I know a lot of stuff's Abstract maybe has been cooking quite well the last week or so. How's things going your side?
Yeah, I think momentum continues to grow on Abstract, generally speaking. Following what we discussed last week, they're just kind of consistently improving. Apps are getting better. The team is listening. They are refining people who weren't active with streaming are kind of being offboarded from the streaming platform, and new streamers, hungry streamers are coming in. People who are streaming are getting good XP and they seem to be really happy. So I think generally Abstract is trending well. What else? I mean, the TikTok thing is kind of interesting. I don't know if I buy this. I think it's like a great message, right? Popular message, like, hey, creators should own their data. The problem with that, though, is it kind of only works if every platform allows it. Like, what's the point of owning your audience if you can't take it anywhere and can't host it anywhere else? So even if TikTok becomes, hey, we're now doing this like crazy revolutionary thing by, you know, breaking down our own silo and putting it all on chain and creators own their data, where do you go with it? Farcaster? Like, there's kind of like a so what for me there. And then the other elephant in the room is like, why not start with Reddit? And then I think the third thing is, like, again, it's a cool message, but the people who I know use TikTok aren't really asking for that. They're like, so I don't know. I think it's just like, it's a good headline. And, you know, as much as I believe in on-chain applications and so on, I think for us to be credible here, we do need to make a strong case for why something should be on-chain. Right now, with proof of play, so here's an example of how we're thinking about it. We have a product which is a VRF, right? Generates random numbers, and people know, you know, there's existing sort of solutions out there like Chainlink and Pyth and so on. But when we analyze the market and see how various apps are generating their random numbers, the largest competitor or largest market share actually belongs to people who aren't running their random numbers on chain, right? They're actually doing this off chain. They're doing it in some centralized way. And it's same like in accounting software, right? The biggest competitor to all these, you know, accounting SaaS unicorns is actually Microsoft Excel. It's just like some old school accountant still running everything in like a hard saved like Excel sheet. So the question becomes then, why does someone need to run their randomization on chain? And why does that trust matter? There's actually like a number of very real like live case studies of, for example, games like Diablo. Diablo was caught having like said the RNG for certain loot or certain gacha box was one thing. And then when users tested it, they came out and disproved those numbers. So you think you can trust RNG until you can't. And I think with on-chain applications, there are some where like serious money is being spent and the randomness is in a trust me bro category where you can't provably show that a transaction or an outcome or a card opening pack or whatever was provably random. And so I think people don't care until they kind of do. But we don't expect the market to change overnight. And for all these apps to suddenly want to put their randomness on chain, there's kind of an education process that we need to go through and not take it for granted. Like, yeah, everything should just be on chain because on chain is the best. Like, you got to make that case. So that's a long-winded way of saying, like, I'm not entirely convinced with the TikTok on chain idea. I would actually be really interested to do a deep dive on how that can affect their revenue and other things about the business. I just think it's like, it's just good headline fodder. It's good engagement bait.
Yeah, interesting. One reflection. I think. I mean, we'll let Brett kind of give the headlines there in a second. But one reflection is in terms of the randomness. One thing that I think people would find really cool is like the algorithm. People always talk about the algorithm as being one of the things which it differentiates TikTok from anything that had come before it. So it'd be super interesting to get more clarity on that. However, I don't know if that would be anything that would be more kind of open source in any way.
Could be really cool. I mean, to their credit, Twitter did that, right? With the Elon, or they sort of did it, and then I think they walked it back. Maybe it's no longer the case.
Yeah, interesting. Very, very interesting stuff. Look, we got to keep it moving. Oxy, I appreciate your hand is up at the moment, but we're running a little bit late today. We've got a couple other things to get to. Let's try and circle back with you towards the end of the show, please. Before we get into the main headlines, Legendary, let's get into our 0G segment today. We've got some interesting updates going on in the AI ecosystem there.
Fantastic. Let's do it. Let's get into today's segment on 0G, the layer 1 blockchain focused on building the largest decentralized AI ecosystem. Last week, we did speak about how Zero-G is developing the ERC standard for AI agent NFTs, what they call INFTs. And today we want to dive into the front-facing tech of the AI agent launchpad, AIverse, which is obviously built on Zero-G. The launchpad does not require any sort of coding skill and also promises to be able to launch AI agents without complex prompting. The agents itself are INFTs following the ERC 7857 standard, which is Zero-G's token standard for AI agents. That is exactly the one that we had explained last week. That is a novel and interesting one because the AI agents can be evolved over time, can be customized over time, while the entire model still keeps living within the INFT, benefiting from Zero-G's decentralized data storage and a couple more other things which they are building for that on the back end. Another thing that stood out to me is the ability, and that's something that Michael Heinrich, the CEO and co-founder of Zero-G Labs, also commented on, the ability to be integrated with other dApps on Zero-G, and also the hint that more AI dApps are coming for that reason and purpose. And just another commentary that I wanted to pick out from Ada, who's also part of the team. And they've been saying that basically those INFTs compared to identity cards for agents, which on the one hand verify provenance, just like typical NFTs, but also verify their agentic capabilities, basically telling you what data has been used to train the agent on, what model is being used. And that kind of adds an additional layer for accountability, which is also really important from an ethical side. Just keeping in mind that we talked about Ethos network, obviously ethics do play an important role with the AI side as well, especially when it comes to pushing the boundaries of AI. Personally, I am most interested in seeing how AIverse agents will be integrated in other dApps, and we will definitely report back on that once the launchpad is live.
I like it. Interesting. I think it will be really interesting to see how they integrate that, as you say, and the fact that you can get that transparency over the training data is pretty cool to me. So yeah, as said, we'll continue to monitor Zero-G. We'll keep on reporting on them from week to week. Let's keep it going. We've got the next main headline today, which is obviously that the crypto has bounced back as tariffs have gone live. But 3 or 4 rate cuts are starting to get priced in. This is more just, maybe we kicked off the shows talking about general price action and general market movements at the moment. But you will have realized the last 3 days have been some of the most hectic ones on the timeline. I put this tweet out earlier today that, like, I think usually when you log in to the timeline, you can get a sense of the price. And for the first time in a while, you kind of log in and I actually really don't know what's going on. Like, we could be up, we could be down. I actually have to go to the specific website to go and find out what the price is, because things have been moving so quickly. Just a couple of days, we completely collapsed. Then we completely ripped. Then we gave up all of the gains. We've now kind of bounced back again. It seems to be the case that some rate cuts are being priced in now. And in general, it seems to be the case that I think there's a little bit of chatter that this post was made by Tyler earlier this morning. You know, we've got the crypto summit on Friday, and people are suggesting, after getting worried initially that, okay, this is the same news, we've heard it all before. This is kind of old news that people were getting excited about when it comes to the Bitcoin reserve. Maybe that could be something more concrete. Tyler shared this earlier. He said the Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick has said he believes the Bitcoin Strategic Reserve will be executed on Friday. Goes on to mention the other crypto tokens will be treated differently. The specific quote was this. He said, a Bitcoin Strategic Reserve is something the president's interested in. He spoke about it all during the campaign trail, and I think you're going to see it executed on Friday. I feel like my personal take on this is that we just kind of keep going around in circles here, talking about the same piece of news, and just re-reporting on it in different ways each time. Maybe the market gets excited about that and starts to think that that means that we're going to start buying Bitcoin on Friday, or they get some more concrete path to seeing how that happens. Remember, there was that tweet from David Sachs not just a couple of days ago in response to people saying you should not be spending our tax dollars on Bitcoin and the other coins. He said, wait till you see what we say, basically suggesting it's not going to be that. So I think that we will get some clarity as to how how the government intend on kind of constructing the reserve, the method at least. But I don't know if we'll get the concrete evidence that the concrete reasoning and the concrete quantity or the time frame, I think, that people are really, really looking for. So to me, it's kind of like a rehashing of the same news over and over again, and we're just chopping ourselves to death in the meantime. But I'd be curious for your thoughts and any additional thoughts on the effects on the broader market here. Legendary, maybe coming to you first. Be curious for your thoughts as well, Dith.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing to look at is to actually quote Lutnick on that. He said, a Bitcoin strategic reserve is something the president's interested in. He spoke about it all during the campaign trail. I think you're going to see it executed on Friday. So Bitcoin, he's adding, is one thing. And then the other currencies, the other crypto tokens, I think will be treated differently, positively, but differently. And that's kind of the point that I think it was Overarch in the comments yesterday was making, that propose that crypto strategic reserve, drop all the tickets there, and then allow for the negotiation of being pushed back against the other cryptocurrencies to do focus on Bitcoin only, but still find a way to deal with the other cryptocurrencies. And I feel like one of the things we spoke about a couple weeks ago or a month ago, I can't remember, was the Sovereign Wealth Fund, which is still something that's also circulating, and we don't really know how that's going to look like. But I definitely agree with you on that, B, that when you go on the timeline and you miss like half a day, BTC could be up or down 10%, and you have no idea which general direction we are moving. And I think Dith put it beautifully at the start of the show that this is definitely the presidency of volatility. And I feel like just because of how communication is done, this is something that we can expect going forward. And there's two options. You can either be a friend of the volatility and try to trade it, or you can generally have a feeling, do you think that's bullish or bearish, and position yourself accordingly with either holding the spot bags or not holding them.
I want to reflect on a comparison with the ETF announcement and kind of what happened there before and after in a second. But Dith, be curious for your thoughts first. Any bigger thoughts on just the crypto summit happening on Friday and any consequences around it or thoughts around it?
Yeah, I saw a good take about it, that there's like chatter on the timeline about an announcement being made of like waiving cap gains tax or something, right? Like, I think people are maybe getting a little bit ahead of themselves with that one. And to an extent, it's like, okay, so maybe all of this is priced in, but are we even pricing in like future things that actually, like, what are the chances of that happening? It's somewhat risky in that respect, right? The counter case is there's also that meme of like, there's like copy pasta of like ultimately everything is priced in. And I still think, like, you know, whether it's in a week or a month or 6 months or a year, we're still going to be okay. There's still going to be like a lot more to come that we aren't currently talking about today. Levels of institutional adoption, other countries getting into the mix, and so on and so forth. On this specific topic, I do agree. He's kind of doing that terrible thing NFT founders do, where they've pre-communicated something that's coming up so much that by the time it eventually does and it happens, like, does it actually hit? Do we actually have any price appreciation, or is it a sell the news event? So it's kind of
not a fan of the announcement of an announcement tactic there, Diff.
Yeah, the problem is, it's literally, the problem is that it gets priced in, and then if it's delayed or it falls short, or even if it meets expectations, then you're not, there's no room to surprise people to the upside. So I, as an operator, as a builder, and as a holder of other collections, I much prefer the like really unexpected, very bullish thing that comes out of left field, and then you have the nice big green candle. It's like more fun for everyone, right? But as I say, in this case, like, I think directionally we're fine. Don't know if there's going to be any other cool, exciting, unexpected thing on Friday. My guess is no. And I do think it's somewhat dangerous that suddenly everyone, or not everyone, but certain people are sitting on this expectation that, like, hey, you know, crypto is now completely tax-free, which would be insane if it happens. I don't see that happening on Friday.
Yeah, I think it's a lot. I'm kind of with you, Dith. I'm skeptical that this is going to be the thing that gives everyone the certainty that they require. One thing that I just wanted to look into, because I can't actually remember the timeframes on this. I can't remember the price we were at, but I was thinking about the ETF as a comparison. Funky, I'm sure you're going to know the numbers on this actually, so maybe I'll throw it to you in a sec. But I was just struck by the way that the market responds when the ETF came out and people finally started being able to buy into it. The price action of Bitcoin actually went down. I cannot exactly remember what price we were at the point. It was either in the 60 range or it was in the 40 range. We went down for a bit and people didn't really respond that quickly. Like it took some time for it to really take off. And I wonder whether it doesn't matter how many times they say that this thing's going to happen. I wonder if it's a similar thing that they're going to need to start buying before other people really really believe that it is true. I feel like there was a little bit of that aspect with the ETFs. So it's like people knew the ETFs were coming. Like it was the one thing, or at least one of the things in that year or in that period of time where people had their absolute heart set on that this is going to be a game-changing thing. And still, the price went up loads and loads after. That was not fully priced in, I don't think. So I still lean on the side that some of these things that are so huge are not priced in, and I think crypto is kind of in disbelief that they even could be. They're hopeful, but they really want to see it to believe it, I think. Funky, your hand is raised. I know you'll be able to give me some of the numbers and dates that I'm looking for there. Provide us with that context, my man. Welcome to the stage.
Jam fam, like I was saying yesterday, DT, y'all too bearish, right? Like, I mean, as I said to you earlier this morning, B, up and to the right, as me and my man Brett would say. And I think that to your point about the ETFs, yes, like we saw sort of that run up in December with the anticipation, the announcement comes, it was probably like mid to high 40s. And you're right, it brief below by the end of really February and March off to the race at the new all-time high of 71 and change before we even get to that happened. Say this is why I think that in a lot of the discussion that we've been having this morning, it's exactly why. Like I love Dit's take of just buy BTC and you can log off or you have to worry. I mean, this is still financial advice, but this is Bitcoin, even having holding is still just because I never have to worry about it. I sleep safe at night. And yes, Diablito, how can that help you?
Like it, man. You were breaking up a little bit during the course of that, but we got the message. Up and to the right and buy Bitcoin. I think it's impossible to not get the message. Appreciate your takes, man, and the additional context. Let's keep it moving there. We've only got 10 minutes left of the show. A couple headlines to get you up to speed with. I think we can go through these fairly quickly. Then just want to share the mint legendary towards the end. So let's do that. Brad, we kind of touched on the TikTok news already. Just set it up for people so people understand what the vision is. May happen, may not happen, but thought it was kind of interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting, but it's very short. We basically covered it. Dith mentioned, so just to zoom out a little bit, TikTok is being purchased, right? Or the U.S. Aspect of TikTok is required to be purchased by a U.S. entity, else it has to be just banned straight up from the country, right? So in light of that, a bunch of people are putting in bids to acquire it from ByteDance, which is the original owner. ByteDance isn't actually really like seeming to give a shit, frankly, about this. Like they don't have a banker for it. Like they're not really putting a lot of energy into it. But that hasn't stopped people from forming teams. One such team is joined now by Alex Ohanian, which is the creator of Reddit. And he is basically coming on as an advisor. He may be adding some financials. It didn't actually call it out in the article. But he's coming on as an advisor, joining a team that already has a bid in. And the thing that caught note was he said, creators should own their data and they should own their audience. They should basically bring it on chain, right? And if you guys would recall, Reddit previously has had several iterations of blockchain tech implemented, right? We had the Polygon. You could buy the avatars. I think they actually had their token, which was their currency for some of their subreddits, which is on Arbitrum, or one of the Arbitrum instances. I forget which one. I don't think it was Nova. Maybe it was Nova. Not one. Some of they've gone through various iterations of implementing blockchain. I think even the point stuff is not deprecated. I don't know if their Reddit avatars is still ongoing. I remember checking, like, I don't know, 6 months ago, and they're basically zero, both volume and like purchase wise. But anyways, he just came out and said that, yeah, like we see this as an opportunity. If we were to acquire TikTok, we would try to implement blockchain as like a back end thing. Even if the people on the front end don't give a shit care about it, it impacts them, and that is our angle. But they didn't give a lot of detail on how it would actually be put on chain. And I know Dith had kind of alluded to, like, you know, how, like, what in what ways they could actually do it that makes sense, TBD. But he believes in the vision. And just as a total aside, like, another thing that Alex Ohanian has actually done, because I'm a Forgotten Runes wizard holder, I remember his fund actually investing in the team behind Forgotten Runes, the NFT collection. So, like, he's just a big Giga nerd. So he likes the D&D style aspect, the old school pixelated stuff. So he's been in the space for a long time, and he's familiar with the tech. He's tried to implement it in previous products, and he's looking to do the same here with TikTok if they win the bid.
I like how you said that the Chinese parent ByteDance is not giving a shit about that deal that has to go through. And I like how beautifully the article has worded that by saying they're only lightly engaged in the deal. As you said, haven't retained a banker nor defined a set of assets to be sold, let alone set a valuation.
Yeah.
If you think about that, what better or more beautiful confirmation can you get of having built a product that is truly, truly desirable if you, as the seller, don't give any information about price, terms, nothing, and people still proactively form a little team, form an investment consortium, and want to get to you and basically beg you to not shut this down but buy it from your hands? What a beautiful confirmation for having built
several, even, right? Like I said, Mr. Beast has a bid in. There's some entrepreneurs from like the Midwest. There's several teams put in here.
Yeah, super interesting. One thing I just wanted to call out is eBrink in the comments said on-chain is code for token. So I know we were saying on our side, well, what's the point? What's the business perspective? How does this help their revenue? But if the objective is to go on-chain in order to distribute tokens and have a TikTok currency, and when people are tipping people, they can do so with the token. I think that's something people are kind of got one eye on for Twitter.
That if TikTok's the next SocialFi farm, then I'll finally have to install that damn app.
And then TikTok will be integrating with Ethos, which will be integrating with FriendTech.
I'll 3-3 you, Brett, on TikTok, all right?
On TikTok. That was a youthful dance. I'm sure that was one of their dances.
Yeah, just middle-aged dudes on TikTok. It's a great thing.
We've got a TikTok channel, Dith. We're ready. We're ready for this future.
You guys are.
We're ready.
Kudos. You're keeping
already farming talks before there's even a token.
Yeah.
Ticks or talks.
Let's just cut to the chase. When ticker TikTok.
When talk. Yeah, interesting stuff. Oxy, your hand's raised. Come in on this. Close this topic off for us before we hit the final one.
Yeah, super quick. Do I sound okay?
Yep, you're good.
Awesome. So I've worked closely with the digital team before.
You've broken off straight away.
Oh my gosh! What the hell? Okay, no worries.
Yeah, get that mic sorted, and then we'll get the crisp version of Oxy back ASAP. Okay, we've only got a few minutes left for today as well. Just got one final bit of news to bring to you. It's another Avax cook. Very well known for gaming. Avax in general, also now very well known for exceptionally profitable pre-sales. Legendary, what do we need to know?
Absolutely. We had another one of those pre-sales. We had Blub coin coming to market yesterday. Pre-sale participants definitely very happy about that. They got in at 900K. The token currently is trading at 70 mil, went as high as 95, almost 100 mil. Basically putting the allocations, depending on how much you got, but max allocation, which was 65 Avax, now worth being 100K, following exactly the footsteps of Cat, of Wink, by making people a strong 6-figure bag if they participate in the pre-sale. But something is actually truly interesting about that, and it's that evolution of ShameFi. So we've seen it with Ket, we've seen it with Wink, where you had the boards, if someone is dumping more than 50% of their tokens, that their basically socials, their wallet will be revealed, how much they dumped and at what price they dumped and what P&L they realized by that. We already had that with Wink, but the interesting thing is that Blub is pushing that one step further by actually having this little star icon that I'm sharing on the right-hand side. And you can add Pride or Shimmer for 2 or 5 AVAX. So if someone has cheated the tokens and you just want to highlight them a bit more on the board for extra shame, I basically can pay 2 or 5 AVAX to add this golden flare to shame someone a bit more prominently. Or the more interesting feature that is relevant for the actual dumper, you can pay 100 AVAX to mask your address and not have your wallet, like here, linked to the shame board anymore. So that's interesting how they're basically monetizing the shame and regret meta, which is relevant after all, because
you could monetize. Sorry, just briefly on that. The bigger opportunity is to like hide the Twitter. Is it the Twitter handle or the name? Charge like 1,000 AVAX.
Yeah, just because you could then actually, exactly what you said. Think about hiding the X account, because obviously follow-on pre-sales are basing their distribution on
exactly. Charge 1,000 AVAX to hide the name, and all those funds go back into token buybacks and burns. It's
interesting to see how they like also evolving this model, evolving the sniping in the beginning, how they are basically treating trading taxes at the start of the sale, at the first like 10 or 20 minutes after TGE. It's actually a lot of details to get into that. Unfortunately, we don't have the time for that, but it's very interesting that Avax found this ShameFi, regret-free meta as something that seems to work pretty well for the pre-sales for now.
Regret-free is hilarious. We spoke, bringing the show full circle for today, we spoke at the top of the show how you can't be in the EU for GDPR. I'm pretty sure Avax can't be in the EU because in the EU, some law has developed as well, which is called the right to be forgotten. And I think that law developed because there are things that, the law hadn't developed to the point where it was able to rule on things in a world where everything was always published and online and searchable. So in this new world, now that we have Google and everything can be searchable and you basically can't get away from your past, they've kind of developed this concept where you do have a right at some point in time under certain circumstances to be forgotten and certain things be erased, basically in the same way that a memory would operate, that you can be erased. But Avax can't be there because you will not be erased from the ShameFi board unless you pay. So interesting concept there. Super interesting stuff. Guys, I just want to draw people's attention as we draw to the close of the show to our latest NFT mint. We did, as people know, we've been doing these Founding Crypto interviews. We've been doing the Founding Crypto podcasts. And we've been trying to slowly getting on top of that new workflow, mint every single episode as an NFT. We have definitely not done that so far, but this is our second one. We did Bing from Mega ETH the first time. We're now minting the Luca interview. I'm showing that on screen for the people who are watching. And I think Legendary is going to put the tweet with the mint link, either pin it up top in the spaces and put it in the comments for the Twitter spaces. It's a $2 mint. It's a non-FOMO inducing mint. Just purchase it if you'd like to support us, if you'd want to become a part of our on-chain community. We do have some plans for that moving forward. We're operating kind of slowly, methodically, figuring out how best to build that up, but we do have plans. 121 people have minted so far. It's pretty cool. I'm sharing that now. I just put a tweet out earlier today. Kalano, shout out to Kalano, who is a routine listener and friend of the show. Minted 69 editions. He is the top on the leaderboard. Rahim, as usual, Rahim came in with 100 mints for the very first episode, came in with 10 today. And then we've got the founder of the protocol, Pods Media, came in with 6 mints. So we've got our top 3. And the cool thing about this, you can actually go to the general channel and you can see the Modern Market account. You can see all the mints we've done so far. And then there's like a general leaderboard to see who's collected the majority of our editions across all of the editions. So as we build this out, we're going to have like a really cool on-chain data set of who's been supporting us on-chain over a longer period of time. Top spot at the moment is Mintify, the NFT marketplace that we are always sharing the data from and we partnered with for a long period of time. And Rahim is number 2 with how many mints here? At least more than 100, I think. So that's that. We're really excited about this. It's going to be an important part of our workflow moving forward. If you'd like to support us, it's $2. You can do that there. Otherwise, you can just enjoy the content for free. As always, we're live on X Spaces, X Video, YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and I think that's all of them. So yeah, thanks so much for joining us as usual, guys. As always, thanks so much to Dith from Proof of Play for being with us today. Thanks to Breg Guy, Legendary, and Oxy and Funky up on stage with us. Have a wonderful day. Take care, and we will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.